Gupta Empire.
The Gupta Empire was an ancient Indian empire, founded by Maharaja Sri Gupta, which existed from approximately 320 to 550 CE and covered much of the Indian subcontinent. The peace and prosperity created under the leadership of the Guptas enabled the pursuit of scientific and artistic endeavors. This period is called the Golden Age of India and was marked by extensive inventions and discoveries in science, technology, engineering, art, dialectic, literature, logic, mathematics, astronomy, religion and philosophy that crystallized the elements of what is generally known as Hindu culture. Chandragupta I, Samudragupta the Great, and Chandragupta II the Great were the most notable rulers of the Gupta dynasty. The 4th century CE Sanskrit poet Kalidasa credits Guptas with having conquered about 21 kingdoms, both in and outside India, including the kingdoms of Parasikas, the Hunas, the Kambojas, tribes located in the west and east Oxus valleys, the Kinnaras, Kiratas etc. The high points of this cultural creativity are magnificent architecture, sculptures and paintings. The Gupta period produced scholars such as Kalidasa, Aryabhata, Varamihira, Vishnu Sharma and Vatsyayana who made great advancements in many academic fields. Science and political administration reached new heights during the Gupta era. Strong trade ties also made the region an important cultural center and set the region up as a base that would influence nearby kingdoms and regions in Burma, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia. The earliest available Indian epics are also thought to have been written around this period. The empire gradually declined because of many factors such as substantial loss of territory and imperial authority caused by their own erstwhile feudatories and the invasion by the Huna peoples from Central Asia. After the collapse of the Gupta Empire in the 6th century, India was again ruled by numerous regional kingdoms. A minor line of the Gupta clan continued to rule Magadha after the disintegration of the empire. These Guptas were ultimately ousted by Vardhana ruler Harsha Vardhana, who established an empire in the first half of the 7th century.
Origin of the Guptas.
According to many historians, the Gupta Empire was a Vaishya dynasty. Historian Ramcharan Sharma asserts that the Vaishya Guptas appeared as a reaction against oppressive rulers. A.S. Utkar, a historian and archaeologist, who has written several books on Gupta coinage, also regarded the caste of the Guptas as Vaishya on the basis of the ancient Indian texts on law, which prescribed the name ending with Gupta for a member of the Vaishya caste. According to historian Michael C. Brannigan, the rise of the Gupta Empire was one of the most prominent violations of the caste system in ancient India. There are conflicting theories regarding the original homeland of the Guptas. According to H. C. Rachtarai, the Guptas originated from the Varendri region, which is now part of Rangpur and Rajshahi division of Bangladesh. D. C. Ganguly on the other hand considers the surrounding region of Murshidabad as the original home of the Guptas. Faxian was the first of the Chinese pilgrims who visited India during the reign of Gupta Emperor Chandragupta II. He started his journey from China in 399 CE and reached India in 405 CE. During his stay in India up to 411 CE, he went on a pilgrimage to Mathura, Kannauj, Kapilavastu, Kushinagar, Vaishali, Patalipatra, Kashi and Rajraya and made careful observations about the empire's conditions. Faxian was pleased with the mildness of administration. The penal code was mild and offences were punished by fines only. From his accounts, the Gupta Empire was a prosperous period, until the Rome-China trade axis was broken with the fall of the Han dynasty. The Guptas did indeed prosper.
Sri Gupta and Kalidasa.
The most likely time for the reign of Sri Gupta is c. 240 to 280 CE. A number of modern historians, which include Rakhaldas Bandyopatai and K. P. Jaiswal, think he and his son were possibly feudatories of the Kushans. His son and successor Guttaltkacha ruled probably from c. 280 to 319 CE. In contrast to their successor, Chandragupta I, who is mentioned as Maharajadhiraja, He and his son Gupta are referred to in inscriptions as Maharaja. At the beginning of the 5th century, the Guptas established and ruled a few small Hindu kingdoms in Magadha and around modern-day Bihar.
Chandragupta I.
Gupta, reigned c. 280 to 319 CE, had a son named Chandragupta, reigned c. 319 to 335 CE, not to be confused with Chandragupta Maurya, 340-293 BCE, founder of the Mauryan Empire. In a breakthrough deal, Chandragupta was married to Kumaradevi, a Lichkavi princess, the main power in Magadha. With a dowry of the kingdom of Magadha, capital Pataliputra, and an alliance with the Lichkavis, Chandragupta set about expanding his power, conquering much of Magadha, Prayaga and Zarketar. He established a realm stretching from the Ganges River to Prayaga, modern-day Allahabad, by 321 CE. He assumed the imperial title of Maharaja Raja. He expanded his empire through marriage alliances.
Samudragupta.
Samudragupta, Parakramanka succeeded his father in 335 CE, and ruled for about 45 years, until his death in 380 CE. He took the kingdoms of Alachklatra and Padmavati early in his reign. He then attacked the Mauryas, the Audyas, the Arjanayanas, the Maduras and the Aparas, all of which were tribes in the area. By his death in 380, he had incorporated over 20 kingdoms into his realm, and his rule extended from the Himalayas to the river Narmada and from the Brahmaputra to the Yamuna. He gave himself the titles King of Kings and World Monarch. Historian Vincent Smith described him as the Indian Napoleon. He performed Ashwamedha Yajna, in which a horse is sacrificed along with a first wife. The stone replica of the horse, then prepared, is in the Lucknow Museum. The Samudragupta Prashasti inscribed on the Ashokan pillar, now in Akbar's fort at Allahabad, is an authentic record of his exploits and his sway over most of the continent. Samudragupta was not only a talented military leader but also a great patron of art and literature. The important scholars present in his court were Harisena, Vasubandhu and Asanga. He was a poet and musician himself. He was a firm believer in Hinduism and is known to have worshipped Lord Vishnu. He was considerate of other religions and allowed Sri Lanka's Buddhist king Sarimgvana to build a monastery at Bodh Gaya. That monastery was called by Xvanzang as the Mayabodhi Sangarama. He provided a gold railing around the Bodhi tree.
Ramagupta.
Although, the narrative of the dervish Chandragupta is not supported by any contemporary epigraphical evidence, the historicity of Ramagupta is proved by his Dajanpur inscriptions on 3 Jaina images, where he is mentioned as the Maharaja Raja. A large number of his copper coins also have been found from the Iran Vidisha region and classified in 5 distinct types, which include the Garuda, Garudodhvaja, lion and border legend types. The Brahmi legends on these coins are written in the early Gupta style. In opinion of art historian Dr. R.A. Agarwala, D.Lit., Ramagupta may be the eldest son of Samudragupta. He became king because of being the eldest. It may be a possibility that he was dethroned because of not being worthy enough to rule and his younger brother Chandragupta II took over.
Chandragupta II Vikramaditya.
According to the Gupta records, amongst his many sons, Samudragupta nominated Prince Chandragupta II, born of Queen Datta Devi, as his successor. Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, the son of power, ruled from 380 until 413. Chandragupta II also married to a Kadamba princess of Kuntala region and a princess of Naga lineage, Nagakulatpana, Kibranaga. His daughter Prabhavatagupta from this Naga queen was married to Rudrasena II, the Vakataka ruler of Deccan. His son Kumaragupta I was married to Kadamba princess of Karnataka region. Emperor Chandragupta II expanded his realm westwards, defeating the Saka western Kshatrapas of Malwa, Gujarat and Saurashtra in a campaign lasting until 409, but with his main opponent Rudrasena III defeated by 395, and crashing the Bengal, Vanga, chiefdoms. This extended his control from coast to coast, established a second capital at Ujjain and was the high point of the empire. Despite the creation of the empire through war, the reign is remembered for its very influential style of Hindu art, literature, culture and science, especially during the reign of Chandragupta II. Some excellent works of Hindu art such as the panels at the Dashavatara temple in Deoghar serve to illustrate the magnificence of Gupta art. Above all, it was the synthesis of elements that gave Gupta art its distinctive flavor. During this period, the Guptas were supportive of thriving Buddhist and Jain cultures as well, and for this reason there is also a long history of non-Hindu Gupta period art. In particular, Gupta period Buddhist art was to be influential in most of East and Southeast Asia. Many advances were recorded by the Chinese scholar and traveller Faxian, in his diary and published afterwards. The court of Chandragupta was made even more illustrious by the fact that it was graced by the Navaratna, 9 jewels, a group of 9 who excelled in the literary arts. Amongst these men was the immortal Kalidasa, whose works dwarfed the works of many other literary geniuses, not only in his own age but in the ages to come. Kalidasa was particularly known for his fine exploitation of the Shringra, romantic, element in his verse.
Chandragupta I's campaigns against foreign tribes.
4th century CE Sanskrit poet Kalidasa credits Chandragupta Vikramaditya with having conquered about 21 kingdoms, both in and outside India. After finishing his campaign in the East and West India, Vikramaditya, Chandragupta II, proceeded northwards, subjugated the Parasikas, Persians, then the Hunas and the Kambojas tribes located in the west and east Oxus valleys respectively. Thereafter, the king proceeds across the Himalaya and reduced the Kinnaras, Kiratas etc. and lands into India proper. The Bryat Kautha Manjari of the Kashmiri writer Kshimdra states, King Vikramaditya, Chandragupta II, had unburdened the sacred earth of the barbarians like the Sakas, Mlikas, Kambojas, Yavanas, Ksharas, Parasikas, Hunas, etc. by annihilating these sinful Mlikas completely.
Faxian.
In 399, Faxian, a Chinese Buddhist, came to India to study the sacred writings of Buddhism. In the 10 years he was there, he wrote about life under the Gupta emperors. His writings form one of the most important sources for the history of this period.
Kumaragupta I.
Chandragupta II was succeeded by his second son Kumaragupta I, born of Mahadevi Dravasvamani. Kumaragupta I assumed the title, Mahendraditya. He ruled until 455. Towards the end of his reign a tribe in the Narmada Valley, the Pushymitras, rose in power to threaten the empire.
Skandagupta.
Skandagupta, son and successor of Kumaragupta I, is generally considered to be the last of the great Gupta rulers. He assumed the titles of Vikramaditya and Kramaditya. He defeated the Pushyamitra threat, but then was faced with invading Hephthalites or White Huns, known in India as the Swika Huna, from the northwest. He repulsed a Huna attack c. 455 CE, but the expense of the wars drained the empire's resources and contributed to its decline. Skandagupta died in 467 and was succeeded by his agnate brother Puragupta.
Decline of the empire.
Skandagupta was followed by weak rulers Puragupta, 467–473, Kumaragupta II, 473–476, Buddhagupta, 476–495. Narasimhagupta, Kumaragupta III, Vishnugupta, Vanyagupta and Panugupta. In the 480s the Hephthalites broke through the Gupta defences in the northwest, and much of the empire in northwest was overrun by the Hun by 500. The empire disintegrated under the attacks of Toramana and his successor Mihirakula. It appears from inscriptions that the Guptas, although their power was much diminished, continued to resist the Huns. The Hun invaded Toramana was defeated by Panugupta in 510 CE. The Huns were defeated and driven out of India in 528 AD by a coalition consisting of Gupta Emperor Narasimhagupta and the king Yashodharman from Malwa. The succession of the 6th century Guptas is not entirely clear, but the tail-end recognized ruler of the dynasty's main line was King Vishnugupta, reigning from 540 to 550. In addition to the Hun invasion, the factors, which contribute to the decline of the empire include competition from the Vakatikas and the rise of Yashodharman in Malwa.
Military organization.
The imperial Guptas could have achieved their successes through force of arms with an efficient martial system. Historically, the best accounts of this come not from the Hindus themselves but from Chinese and Western observers. However, a contemporary Indian document, regarded as a military classic of the time, the Shiva Dana Veda, offers some insight into the military system of the Guptas. The Guptas seem to have relied heavily on infantry archers, and the bow was one of the dominant weapons of their army. The Hindu version of the longbow was composed of metal, or more typically bamboo, and fired a long bamboo cane arrow with a metal head. Unlike the composite bows of Western and Central Asian foes, bows of this design would be less prone to warping in the damp and moist conditions often prevalent to the region. The Indian longbow was reputedly a powerful weapon capable of great range and penetration and provided an effective counter to invading horse archers. Iron shafts were used against armored elephants and fire arrows were also part of the bowman's arsenal. India historically has had a prominent reputation for its steel weapons. One of these was the steel bow. Due to its high tensility, the steel bow was capable of long range and penetration of exceptionally thick armor. These were less common weapons than the bamboo design and found in the hands of noblemen rather than in the ranks. Archers were frequently protected by infantry equipped with shields, javelins, and longswords. The Guptas also had knowledge of siegecraft, catapults, and other sophisticated war machines. The Guptas apparently showed little predilection for using horse archers, despite the fact these warriors were a main component in the ranks of their Scythian, Parthian, and Hepthalite, Huna, enemies. However, the Gupta armies were probably better disciplined. Able commanders like Samudragupta and Chandragupta II would have likely understood the need for combined armed tactics and proper logistical organization. Gupta military success likely stemmed from the concerted use of elephants, armored cavalry, and foot archers in tandem against both Hindu kingdoms and foreign armies invading from the northwest. The Guptas also maintained a navy, allowing them to control regional waters. The collapse of the Gupta Empire in the face of the Hunan onslaught was due not directly to the inherent defects of the Gupta army, which after all had initially defeated these people under Skandagupta. More likely, internal dissolution sapped the ability of the Guptas to resist foreign invasion, as was simultaneously occurring in Western Europe and China. During the reign of Chandragupta II, Gupta Empire maintained a large army consisting of 500,000 infantry, 50,000 cavalry, 20,000 charioteers and 10,000 elephants along with a powerful navy with more than 1,200 ships. Chandragupta II controlled the whole of the Indian subcontinent. The Gupta Empire was the most powerful empire in the world during his reign, at a time when the Roman Empire in the West was in decline.
Gupta Administration.
A study of the epigraphical records of the Gupta Empire showed that there was a hierarchy of administrative divisions from top to bottom. The empire was called by various names such as Raya, Rashtra, Desha, Mandala, Prithvi and Devani. It was divided into 26 provinces, which were styled as Bhakti, Pradesha and Bhoga. Provinces were also divided into Vishayas and put under the control of the Vishayapatis. A Vishayapati administered the Vishaya with the help of the Adhikarana, Council of Representatives, which comprised 4 representatives, Negaras Reshasthi, Sartavaha, Prathmakulika and Pratamakyasva. A part of the Vishaya was called Vithi. There were also trade links of Gupta business with the Roman Empire.
Legacy of the Gupta Empire.
Scholars of this period include Varamihira and Aryabhata, who is believed to be the first to come up with the concept of zero, postulated the theory that the Earth moves round the Sun, and studied solar and lunar eclipses. Kalidasa, who was a great playwright, who wrote plays such as Shakuntala, which is said to have inspired Goethe, and marked the highest point of Sanskrit literature, is also said to have belonged to this period. The famous Sushruta Samhita, which is a Sanskrit redaction text on all of the major concepts of Ayurvedic medicine with innovative chapters on surgery, dates to the Gupta period. Chess is said to have originated in this period, where its early form in the 6th century was known as Chaturanga, which translates as 4 divisions: infantry, cavalry, elephants, and cavalry, represented by the pieces that would evolve into the modern pawn, knight, rook, and bishop, respectively. Doctors also invented several medical instruments, and even performed operations. The Indian numerals, which were the first positional-based 10 numeral systems in the world, originated from Gupta India. The ancient Gupta text Kama Sutra is widely considered to be the standard work on human sexual behavior in Sanskrit literature, written by the Indian scholar Vatsyayana. Aryabhata, a noted mathematician astronomer of the Gupta period, proposed that the Earth is not flat, but is instead round and rotates about its own axis. He also discovered that the moon and planets shine by reflected sunlight. Instead of the prevailing cosmogony in which eclipses were caused by pseudo-planetary nodes Rahu and Ketu, he explained eclipses in terms of shadows cast by and falling on Earth. These and the other scientific discoveries made by Indians during this period about gravity and the planets of the solar system spread throughout the world through trade.
Art and murals.
The Gupta period for the most part was relatively aniconic and inartistic until after the death of Skandagupta, after which Indian artists created some of their finest works. Magnificent palaces and temples contained the highest quality sculpture and paintings. Classical forms of music and dance, created under the Guptas, are still practiced today all over Asia. Wall paintings. There are more than 30 Buddhist shrines and monasteries in the Ajanta Hills. The walls of many of these were decorated with colorful frescoes, or wall paintings. This was fashion that continued for hundreds of years. The paintings show scenes from the life of the Buddha, and other devotional subjects. Cave shrines. Many of the Buddhist cave shrines in western India were cut out of the cliffs, a task which must have taken years of labor with the simple tools the Guptas used. The cave shrines are dark but beautifully decorated with sculptures and paintings.
Gupta dynasty rulers.
The main branch of the Gupta dynasty ruled the Gupta Empire in India, from around 320 to 550. This dynasty was founded by Sri Gupta. The rulers are Sri Gupta, Guptaltkacha, Chandragupta I, Samudragupta, Ramagupta, Chandragupta II, Kumaragupta I, Skandagupta, Puragupta, Kumaragupta II, Buddhagupta, Narasimhagupta Baladitya, Kumaragupta III, Vishnugupta, Vanyagupta, Panugupta, Shashankgupta, Nyaravupta, Shivagupta II.
Timeline.
320, Chandragupta I founds the Gupta Empire. Chandragupta wins many battles against many northern emperors. 330 to 376, Samudragupta expands the empire from the Indus River to the Bay of Bengal, and up into the northern mountains. 376 to 415, Chandragupta II makes the empire secure, and encourages trade. 415 to 450, Kalidas composes most of his poetry in the reign of Kumaragupta. 415 to 455, 450, empire begin to collapse under pressure from invading Huns. 554, the Gupta dynasty ends when the last emperor Shashakgupta